All right, friends. Something new today. Say you went to the store and saw 200 people standing in line in front of you. You'd probably say, that's a lot of people. It just so happens that that is the number of listeners who have signed up as members in the last 4 months at aroundthecircle.org, and only three, I tell you, have chosen to cancel. I would love to invite you to go to aroundthecircle.org and take a look at what we're doing. When you visit, you're going to see a few things. First, our college course has begun posting. The first 2 videos are up and they are free. As a sample, we are posting the audio here on February 19th and 20th, but our videos are only there. They are professionally done. They are filled with lots of graphics, and you get to see me talking to myself in an empty room. Worth the price for sure. And the full course, the full college course, will post through March and April. Second, you're going to notice the first half of our book draft is up, and that we now have 20 hours of unreleased Enneagram interviews with the most informed people we know. In our mind, this is the best way to learn about your type, just listening to healthy folks talk about their experience of the Enneagram. In March, we will come full circle and post our final 2 long-form interviews with our good friend, Counselor Heidi Emerson, who's an Enneagram 4, and PhD candidate Jessica Pena, who's an Enneagram 5. These 2 were the first people we asked to do the 10-question interviews, and our discussions were fire, and those are coming in March. In April, we will be announcing our book release events and our online workshops, and those who are members will not only receive free tickets to our events, but they will determine where we choose to go. And lastly, in April, we will release a long-held interview we did with the great Suzanne Stabile from 2021. We have even more planned for the summer at aroundthecircle.org. This includes audiobooks, a published work on the instincts, and we will start doing one-on-one interviews and typing sessions with members. Think of aroundthecircle.org like a gym membership. It's a gym membership for your heart, for your relationships, for your self-understanding. Go take a look, and may all good things be yours.
I'm Jeff Cook, and this is Triads. I want you to do something for me. I want you, as you are staring at your camera or your phone, whatever you're looking at, what I want you to do is stare at it and intentionally close one of your eyes. When you do this, something's going to happen. What happens is your nose is going to come into focus. You can actually see your nose. Even though you're staring at the camera, you can see your nose. Now do something else. Slowly open your other eye. What happens is your nose will disappear. Close your eye, one eye, it's there. Open it, it's gone. Apparently your brain plays a trick on you when both eyes are open. So apparently you need a technique in order to see yourself. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a technique for seeing yourself. If you've gotten this far, you probably know this is about the Enneagram. One of my favorite stories is told by Rob Bell. Picture a man, peasant, medieval England, let's say, and he's at the pub. And he drank way too much. And he stumbles out. He's stumbling back towards his home, but he goes down the wrong road. And he goes into a foreign territory, the territory of, say, the enemies of his family and the rest. And as he is venturing forward, he's looking around, he stumbles upon a keep. And there's actually a guard, a sentry posted on top of the wall. And the guard yells down at him, "Who are you? What do you want?" And of course, this is startling, especially to a drunk man. You don't want to be yelled at when you're drunk. The man looks up again at the sentry, and the sentry yells down at him, "Who are you? What do you want?" Adrenaline is really helpful in these situations. Drunk man has kind of a surge of energy, looks at the guard and says, "How much do they pay you to stand here all night?" And the guard, kind of taken aback, yells down his wage. The drunk man says, "I will pay you twice that amount if you come to my house every morning and ask me those 2 questions. Who are you? What do you want?" This is the starting place for Enneagram. This is how we're going to see our self. In fact, your identity is very much tied to what we desire, what we want. And if we name what we want, if we name our motive, it can give us a deep insight into who we actually are. So that's where we're going. Triads. Many of you know this. Enneagram is the theory about motive. Triads are how the Enneagram is divided. And what we're going to do through this whole series, and this intro is probably going to be longer than the other ones, what we're going to do through this whole series is going to be looking at sets of triads, sets of threes within the Enneagram, and the numbers in different combination, and what they say about us. And what we're specifically going to do is we're not just going to look at, stance or centers or coping style by themselves. What we're going to do is take, say, as we are today, we're going to take the centers of intelligence and stance, and we're going to slam them together, and we're going to see what happens. So this whole series is going to be that sort of movement. It's going to be these combinations of what happens when you take stance and coping style, put them together. What happens when you take affect groups and processing center and put them together. And so there should be about 15 or so videos that we do. This will constitute a class. Welcome to Triads. So, I'm going to start with centers. Many of you know this, but I want to highlight some of the big ideas that are taking place. Centers actually end up being one of the more complicated topics in Enneagram, even though it's the place that so many of us end up actually starting. So you take the centers, head, heart, gut. 8s, 9s, and 1s, these are body types. 2s, 3s, and 4s, these are heart types. 5s, 6s, and 7s, these are head types. If this feels like I'm going too fast, I would love for you to push pause. I would love for you to go to the Start Here podcast, and you should jump into that material. I'm assuming most of you pretty much know some of the basics about Enneagram and are going to be able to follow this sort of language. But the intelligence centers, or the centers, is that division, head, heart, gut. I suppose I'm going to have pictures over here at some point. So voila, here's the pictures that I put in afterwards. Aren't they beautiful? I did these myself. I know that you think that I'm a professional. That's why they look this delightful. Head, heart, gut. I thought that was funny. But I'm in a room that's empty and by myself, so I'm just going to laugh at myself is how this is actually going to work. So in terms of the centers are about how we receive the world, how we take in the world. They are the filters through which we interpret everything else. We'll talk about how we engage the world also, given our Enneagram type. But how we receive the world is first. We are always, life is a breathing in and a breathing out, a breathing in and a breathing out. And when you take in the world, the breathing in process, it's incredibly important because it begins to highlight the things that you, given your type, given your identity, these are the sorts of things that you care about. And for heart types, for 2s, 3s, and 4s, they're taking the world in through that emotional filter, through a relational filter. It's a filter that can elevate things like comparison, like looking at myself versus another in terms of the relationships that I have. The primary for heart types just feeling good in the world. And even many heart types would say, you know what I want most is attention. I want others to give me attention, to tell me of my value, or I know I'm valuable based on the opinions of others. Heart types are social people. They navigate the world in that relational way. They're going to lean into their sentiments. They're going to feel social pressure. Heart types are going to take in the world, again, through that emotional filter, and it creates all of those details. So, 2 other elements come into play with the centers, and it's time and underlying feeling. To start with time, when talking about heart types are going to have a slight filter of the past. They're going to be very aware of what has happened, specifically relationally. They're going to remember when relationships went badly. They're going to remember when they didn't actually do what they should have, or they didn't win, or they didn't look the way that they wanted to, and somehow there was a relational disconnection. And these things will ping in the hearts of many heart types, 2s, 3s, and 4s. This creates an underlying feeling, and the underlying feeling for heart types is shame. Some folks want to say that the underlying feeling is sadness. You can certainly go there. I like shame because shame is motivating, and all of the underlying feelings end up having a motivating quality to them. It's like all of us feel shame, anger, or fear. These energies, these emotions that compel behavior. And that's really what underlying feelings are. And for 2s, 3s, and 4s, the desire not to feel relational disconnection is much stronger than it is for the other types. And so that shame is worth naming. So heart types have that past filter, produces that underlying feeling of shame, and that has a motivating quality to it in which they feel the need to get the attention of others. And when they get the attention of others, this is a place where they feel good about themselves, feel good about who they are in the world. What we want is named in this space for 2s, 3s, and 4s. Now, head types. Head types anticipate future events. They are likewise taking in the exact same world as the heart types, but their filter is different. How they see the world is different. The future focus of head types comes from the fact that they are, logical, cognitive. They're imagining what's ahead. They're anticipating what's ahead. This is incredibly important. Some details about head types. Head types are going to navigate their world by thinking first. Head types are aware of upcoming threats. Because they're aware of upcoming threats, a feeling that can emerge in them, and this would be the underlying feeling for head types, is something like anxiety or fear. The ways that head types may protect themselves is by analysis, elevating data, rational thinking. Let's think about all these things that are ahead. If we can think well enough, we'll probably be okay. And so, again, head types taking in the world through that analytic filter, focusing on possessions. 5s, 6s, and 7s all want something that will make them feel stable, something that will make them feel secure. For 5s, it can be knowledge and assets. For 6s, it can be their relational connections and the tribe that they're part of. For 7s, it can be opportunities. These are held in high regard for 5s, 6s, and 7s, primarily, again, because they have a protective quality to them. Assets, opportunities, people that care about me and they're loyal to me, these can position me, can protect me from future dangers. So just to summarize that, head types, 5s, 6s, and 7s want something like security because they're anticipating all the bad things that may happen, and they're motivated by that underlying fear. Again, the underlying feelings end up having emotional power and power to move us. And that's why they're so important. And they arise out of that filter. Last filter is body types. Body types, 8s, 9s, and 1s. 8s, 9s, and 1s are resistant to the present because they can't necessarily control it. What 8s, 9s, and 1s feel is the present moment. They feel the spaces around them. They want to be comfortable. What they take in isn't past-oriented like heart types. It's not future-oriented like head types. Body types are here and now, and what they want is just to feel good in the world, and this is very spatial. For 2s, 3s, and 4s, they want a feeling, but it's very relational. It's about them and other people. For 8s, 9s, and 1s, it's very spatial. How do I feel in the world? How do I feel in my body? There is a high degree of desire for maintaining control, for being in charge of the environments in which they dwell. As such, body types are resistant to whatever might assault their agency, assault their sense of control. You'll notice this. Resistance is actually a good word. Heart types are resistant to past failures. Head types are resistant to future threats. Body types, resistant to the present and what is seemingly trying to assert its will into their spaces. 8s, 9s, and 1s want to be masters of themselves. They want to be masters over their spaces and their future. 8s will do this by taking hold of agency. 9s will do this by taking a step back, having a space for themselves. 1s, if they're just good enough, then clearly they'll be in charge of themselves first and then what they desire in the world. You can see how this works. The underlying feeling that then emerges because the world is coming at them is something like anger. Anger at those external forces, or sometimes the internal forces that seeks to impose their will on them. For 8s, the threats and what makes them vulnerable are often the things out there. But you'll notice for 1s are not necessarily as focused on what's out there. Oftentimes the 1s are inwardly focused on their own urges, on their own desires. They're seeking to thwart their ideals for themselves. So there's all sorts of things that are seeking to move these body types in the direction that they desire. To sum this up then, what we're going to see is that all the motives, what do you want? All the motives are going to emerge in part from these centers and how the types get what they want. To jump to the punchline at the very end, many of us know this. What twos want attention, of course. In order to get the attention that they want, they're going to feel like they get the attention that they want when they feel needed. It's different from 3s. 3s likewise want attention, but they're going to feel like they've gotten the attention they desire when they excel, when they win. 4s likewise want attention, but they're going to feel like they have the attention they want when they feel significant, when they feel unique, when they feel comfortable in their own skin. That's the heart types. The head types want to gain something like stability or security. And for 5s, they will feel like they are secure when they understand the things that are most important to understand, or when they've acquired the assets that they need to acquire to feel good about future threats. 6s are going to be different. 6s are going to feel secure when they have something like assurances or something like certainty, and they often need that from other people. They need the assurances and certainties from those around them. 6s are going to process the world very relationally. 7s, in order to sidestep future threats, are going to want those opportunities. And when they feel like they have the opportunities available to them, then they will feel good in the world. All of these types, 5s, 6s, and 7s, they all want the same sort of thing, the same sort of security, because of that future focus. But they gain it in different ways. They gain it through what we'll talk about in a minute, through their stance. Lastly, 8s, 9s, and 1s. 8s, 9s, and 1s, all body types, they want autonomy, they want agency, they want control over themselves, but they're going to feel in control only when, for 8s, when they're unobstructed. For 9s, they want everything to feel harmonious, harmony, everything in its right place. This is them having agency over their spaces and themselves. And for 1s, having agency means the ability to execute what is good, what is right, be overseers of their body first and how they are in the world, quite self-critical because of that. This is how the centers work, right? This is how the centers function in the Enneagram, taking in the world at this level. There's a breathing in and a breathing out. I pitched this earlier. The breathing in is through your center. The breathing out is through your stance. I want you to imagine something with me. I want you to picture a fish, a fox, a monkey, and a crow. Fish, fox, monkey, and a crow. All of these animals will pursue the same things. They all want food, they all want drink, they all want shelter, they all want to nurture their young, they all want to belong to a group. But notice, each of these animals, though they have similar aims, each of them are going to gain what they want in very different ways. Einstein famously said, if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. All animals naturally gain what they want according to their type. Monkeys are going to climb, fish are going to swim, foxes apparently skulk, crows hang out on power lines all day. This is how things work. These aren't just tactics. These are how these types get what is most essential to them. It's like their identity is actually seen in how they are getting the things that they want. This is true of animals. This is true of you and me. The Enneagram not only tells me what I want in terms of our centers, Enneagram is going to unveil the tactics I employ to acquire it. Primary center is about motive. Stance, these three sets of triads, stance is about how we get what we want. So let's pivot to stance. First is the withdrawn types. These are 5s, 4s, and 9s. Second are the reactive or responsive types, 1s, 2s, and 6s. And lastly are the independent or assertive types, which are 7s, 8s, and 3s. I did that from memory. Worth noting a couple things regarding stance, because it's not just going to be about how we get what we want, but we'll also talk about an orientation to time when it comes to stance. And for many of you, you already know this, tied to stance is a repressed feeling. And so we'll talk about all of these things. So 4s, 5s, and 9s. 4s, 5s, and 9s, in order to get what they want, will withdraw. 5s will take a step back to observe. We already talked about 5s. 5s want knowledge in order to gain the knowledge and wisdom that they desire most, that they think will keep them safe. A common move is to take a step back. And so that withdrawn thinking, it's aiming at understanding, it's aiming at wisdom, and that's a tactic for gaining it. So the world is coming at them, informing them in terms of what they want. What they want most is security. And the way that they acquire it, if I just get wisdom and understanding, I'll be excellent, I'll be A-OK. Thinks the 5. Take a step back, observe the world. That's how you get that wisdom and understanding. 9s also withdraw. They are not aiming at acquiring more knowledge. 9s want harmony. They want that harmonious well-being. They want everything to be pretty even keel in order to gain the harmony that they desire. Again, notice, they will take a big step back, and it's not for observation. The big step back is an action. They are like kind of silencing action, as it were, so that they can feel as though the world is harmonious. That's the step back. So many of us who know 9s, love 9s, will know that 9s will often retreat into spaces that they control, and that's how they're getting the harmony that they desire. 4s are also withdrawn types. 4s are withdrawn feelers. They're going to be aiming at, seeing their personal relevance. They want to experience their personal uniqueness is overplayed, but that's what it is. They want to understand who they are in the world. And so the step back for the 4 is actually self-focused. I'm gonna look at my own inner life. I'm gonna look at my feelings and emotions for a season. And that's how they are in fact gaining the attention that they desire, not necessarily from others in this space. They're actually gaining it from themselves. They are looking inward. All of these types are taking that step back, withdrawing in order to get what they want. Now, 2 things I ended up noting. One is the tools that they're going to use. These are going to be have a time orientation. Time orientation, when it comes to stance, has to do with tools that we employ. 4s, 5s, and 9s all employ past tools to meet their needs. So let's take 9s, for example. 9s, if you know a 9, 9s often can be hoarders. 9s will collect. 9s will ensure that they have the thing that they need to ensure the harmony that they desire. And so 9s often are thinking through, what's the past tool I can use to ensure that I have control over this situation and things don't break. Many of you will know the great TJ Wilson. TJ is a collector of all things tech. He's got countless tubs of what I see as useless crap, but occasionally something will break on his computer, and he goes to tub number 82, opens it up, sifts for an hour, but finds the small screw that will fix the problem at hand. And notice everything is even keel, copacetic, and sound. And this is how 9s are using the past tools to ensure the present harmony. 5s, likewise using past tools, but these aren't necessarily physical tools. These are commonly knowledge. These are commonly insights. These are, if I study what has happened in the past, it will give me the insights that I require to face future threats, right? And so again, wisdom, observation coming into play here, and that's from that withdrawn place. 4s, likewise, using past tools in order to see their relevance, in order to see their significance. But this is looking at their whole story. What is it that has happened? How are the ups and downs, both terrible and wonderful? And being able to look at the emotional highs and lows throughout one's past, and perhaps into the pasts of others. Here are the great romantic stories that have been told of the people who were, the most extraordinary. For me, look at these and say, this is where significance lies. And again, notice past tools. Present tools are 1s, 2s, and 6s. 1s, 2s, and 6s are the reactive triad, responsive triad. 1s, 2s, and 6s earn in order to get what they want. The present tools are important to note here, and this is where the reactive responsive comes into play. 1s, 2s, and 6s, in order to get what they want, normally are doing things right now. Now is the time, right? And so 1s, 2s, and 6s kind of have this external view, whereas the withdrawn types have more of an internal view. 1s, 2s, and 6s have this external posture. They're looking out for who they can serve, who they can connect with, what they can do to advance the things that are most important to them. 1s are reactive doers. They aim at making the world better, making themselves better, making the world better. If things are improving, the 1 feels good in the world. This is what is desired most. If 1 is able to move the world, to improve the world, then the world doesn't have control over oneself. The 1 has control, has oversight over themselves and their environments. And that is what body types like 1s desire most, and they're going to get it through reacting to situations in the world. So sometimes that might be responding to the broken light bulb. Sometimes that might be reacting to some situation with someone in their life. How can I help you? Might come out of the mouth of a 1. They want to improve things for the person in front of them. This is how 1s are in the world. 2s likewise might say, how can I help you? But it's for a different reason. 2s want to earn others' attention. They are reactive feelers. 2s have a fantastic radar for the emotions of other people. They are reading the emotions of other people, and they are responding to them. Again, responsive types. 1s, 2s, and 6s all respond to what's out there. And 2s are responding to the emotional life of others. And they're aiming at caring for another's needs. And when another person is taken care of by the 2, then that person will, the 2 hopes, reciprocate the love, the care that the 2 desires most. And that's how they're going to get the attention that they want. Attention is gained by serving, by helping, by meeting the needs of others, the two will themselves feel needed. Sixes are reactive thinkers. They are aiming at assurance. They're aiming at certainty. The reactive thinking comes in this place. Envisioning future threats, the six will presently address their concerns. So they are reacting to the thinking that they have about what is going to take place. And commonly, what will happen for ones, twos, and sixes is they will all verbally process. But when you see it in sixes will often be speaking about their fears, be speaking about their anxieties, will be talking about what might happen, not only to themselves, but to the people around them who they trust, who they are loyal to, who they hope that they've built rapport with. If they can speak their fears to their friends, to their tribe, to their family, they can then hear from others how they perceive the future threats. And they can react to their emotions, to their responses. Is this person comfortable moving forward, and why? The six wants certainty. The six wants assurances from the people that they love most, that they trust, that they're in community with. And this is how they get it. So reactive thinkers there. Ones, twos, sixes, all present focused. The last of the stances, 3s, 7s, and 8s, are the independent. Triad, they stand independent from the world. Oh, I forgot one thing. Ones, twos, and sixes are also, this case in point, are thinking repressed. And I suppose I forgot to say this with withdrawn types. Withdrawn types are action repressed. See, these notes are valueless, aren't they? There is a repressed center that needs to be talked about with each of the triads. With withdrawn types, because they're living in the past, they often have a problem getting into their bodies and engaging what they know they ought to be doing with their physicality, moving the world as they should. Ones, twos, and sixes are earners. They're real great at jumping into their bodies and doing things. But because they're in the present, they often they're more ready, fire, aim sorts. They're more like, let's just start doing stuff and it will achieve the ends that the 1, 2, 6 desires, but they do so without thinking. In fact, doing productive thinking is very difficult for 1s, 2s, and 6s. It's very difficult for them to pause, to get their minds around something before actually acting. And so 1s, 2s, and 6s are thinking repressed. 3, 7s, and 8s. So this last triad, aggressive, independent sorts. 3, 7s, and 8s are kind of stand apart from the world, as it were. And where the others are thinking or action repressed, 3, 7s, and 8s, feeling repressed. They divorce their feelings from what's here, often because their tools, their stance tools, are aimed at the future. 3, 7s, and 8s employ future tools to get what they want. The way this works then is the 3, for example, is thinking about how they're going to win next Thursday. 3s are independent feelers. They take in the emotions of others, but then they respond to them with, okay, well, what are we going to do next Thursday, next Saturday? What are we going to do to win, to gain others' attention, to be the talk of their community? This is the place where the 3 ends up living. They end up, as was said earlier, they're heart types, so they're taking in the world through the past and through what has gone wrong in the past, places they've felt, say, past shame, and then they are pivoting and saying, how do I never feel that way again? The way I'm not going to feel that way again is I'm going to win next Thursday. I'm going to achieve things that are really praiseworthy. They're really worth talking about in the week to come, and they move that way. The thing about the future is the future doesn't have emotions yet. Nobody's felt anything in the future yet, right? And so if you are focused on the future to get what you want, 3, 7s, and 8s, nobody's emotions matter yet because there are no emotions in the future. But that's where they're investing their energy to get the things they want. Sevens are independent thinkers. Again, stand apart from the situations. Sevens can often float above, the chaos, the negativity, the grief, the sorrow, anything that's got like that tinge of, I don't really like this emotion. Sevens aren't here for that. Sevens are already thinking ahead to what they're going to be doing next. So if this feels negative, why would I want to live here in my mind? Independent thinking focuses on the future. I can envision what we're going to do. And that's where the 7 lives. So you'll notice this with the 7. They both are part of the head triad, so they're taking the world in through their head. But they are also engaging the world through their head. They're also employing tools that are in the future. So 7s commonly are just so future oriented. And this is where they live. So it can be very helpful for 7s to figure out how to be here and now. This is a good spiritual, healthy, mental practice. 8s. 8s are independent doers. They, again, stand apart, as it were, from the world. 8s feel their own vulnerability. And so they often can create a barrier between themselves and the world out there that seeks to impose its will on the 8. And so standing independent is the posture of the 8, and they want to have personal oversight. The way they establish this can often be through being assertive, being aggressive. Their anger can be unleashed. And what that really is, it's closer in kind to porcupine quills coming out and saying, don't touch me, this isn't your space, as it were. 3, 7s, and 8s, all future tools. What 8s end up doing is they end up thinking about next Thursday, and they're like, where am I vulnerable? What do I need to ensure that I don't I have no holes in my walls, as it were? What do I need to do to ensure that nobody breaks in? I'm going to insist on thinking through the future in such a way that I feel like I'm not vulnerable. And this is the way the 8s work in the world. 3, 7s, and 8s, all future tools. Feeling repression comes into play here, not only externally, but it's also internally. The 7s don't want to deal with the dark emotions. 3s see your emotions and even their emotions as obstacles to getting the goal ahead. And 8s tend to convert all of their emotions into anger because anger has a protective power. You can unleash anger on others, and it gives you, a measure of protection. All of these things are the part of the way that these types are in the world and gaining what they want, but they also have that negative side. The 3 isn't feeling their feelings. The 7 isn't feeling the full range of their emotions. The 8s are feeling a emotion, the anger emotion, but they're not able to put a rich vocabulary to everything that they're experienced or have experienced so that they can actually do business with it in their minds. These are the places 3, 7s, and 8s need to work. So going through these really quick, withdrawn types need to get into their bodies. 1s, 2s, and 6s need to do productive thinking, and 3, 7s, and 8s need to get into their rich emotional life so that they can have a balanced engagement with the world. These are the 2 sets of triads. I'm not going to go in depth every single time with those 2 sets of triads. What most of the videos are going to do is what we're going to do right now, which is just look at the overlap. And you already will have seen much of the overlap. But again, I would love to get that image in your head of breathing in and breathing out. This is who we are in the world. We're taking in the world through our center. We're engaging the world through our stance. Life moves in this continuous rhythm of inhaling and exhaling. We receive the world, then we respond, and that's how. So taking each of the types in turn. 2s are going to earn attention. They're reactive types, they're responsive types. Responsive types earn what they want in the world, and what the 2 targets is the attention of others. Much of that energy is outward. reading others' emotions, and then responding to those emotions with how they can serve and draw attention to themselves, to want to feel needed in the world. And that relationship is established through them earning the attention of others. That's where the center and the stance come together and overlap and interlock, as it were. Threes also want attention, but threes are going to take hold of attention. That's going to be the primary posture that they take. I want attention from the world because that's my center. I'm taking in the world relationally, and I feel good if I get the attention I desire from others. In order to take hold of that attention, the three will set their mind and activities towards winning, towards doing those things in the world that are most praiseworthy. They will be asserting themselves. And so oftentimes threes are the ones who will command the stage. Oftentimes, sports is highly attractive to threes. They got trophies. People are standing on stage after they win, and everyone is celebrating them. Right? Threes are going to be fantastic as, say, actors, image conscious, gaining the attention of the crowds, as it were. Sometimes as politicians. All of these roles where the attention of many is poured out for an individual. Threes are going to say, you know what? Those are the roles that are quite they garner attention, and they have that stance where they have the ability to take hold of the attention. They're really great in those roles. Fours, as was said earlier, are not going to be out there trying to gain attention. The four is going to draw back for attention. One, for themselves, they want to turn their eyes inward and look at their own feelings and inner life. But also, if they are captivating enough, others will follow. You seem significant, and if others actually follow them when they take a step back, that's actually, they must actually have something desirable about them. So thinks the four. These are the attention seekers. These are where the stance and the center overlaps for the 2s, 3s, and 4s. 4, 5, 6s, and 7s, again, we'll see that movement of withdrawing, earning, taking hold. The first is 5s. 5s will take a step back, withdraw in order to gain the stability, the security that is desired. So breathing in, breathing out. They're breathing in the desire for stability, breathing out that push for withdrawal so that they can see the world, understand the world, take a step back, not be affected by the world. That is a realm of security, of stability, and it fulfills their motive. 6s are going to earn stability. As was said, very relational 6s. In order to get stability, there is going to be an investment in the tribe, in the community, in specifically looking out for the sake of the rest of the community, of all things. So I have a building that I'm working on recently. We require locks. I go into the lock shop. All of these people are 6s. All of these people investing in a business that protects people are 6s. And it took me a minute to go, look around the room. All of you are focused on these future threats, what you can do now. What we can do now is put this in this huge deadbolt, on your door. And by the way, there's a gun safe. It's that sort of stuff that they're selling in this shop. The earning of stability is all over the patterns of the 6. By the way, this is why 6s are rule followers. The 1s, 2s, and 6s all can be labeled compliant, but the rule following often comes here for the 6. The 6 wants to ensure that they don't get kicked off the island, right? Because their community is the source of stability, right? And so I need to follow the rules in order to ensure that I don't get kicked off the island. I'm going to earn the stability I desire by looking out for everybody else and their needs. And together, we will be a codependent crew who can navigate all the problems of life. 7s. Sevens are going to take hold of stability. They're going to do so by ensuring that they have future opportunities. Stability, provision, having what you need for the 7 is about future thinking, is about jumping to the next thing. Stability, it may not be the best word. Security may not even be the best word, but central to 5, 6s, and 7s is that need to have everything, provided for. But 7s want to know they have the provisions required to be in the world. Like fasting is the opposite sort of activity that a 7 wants to do. They want to have a robust, life of plenty, as many of you know. And so in order to ensure that, you're going to take hold of that. You're going to get ahead of everybody else. You're going to beat others, to the next party, as it were. And if things are looking a little, things are not interesting around here. Things have slowed down. That's not a good place to be. Let's go where there's energy, where things are fast, where there's lots of movement. That's the place that there's going to be provision. Those are the head types. And again, you'll see all of them want security. All of them want that stability, but withdraw, earn, or take hold to gain it. Lastly, our body types. Body types, starting with the 8s. 8s are going to take hold of control. They're going to do that in the way that we had kind of mentioned already. They're going to do that by being assertive, by being direct, by sometimes allowing their anger to go outward. They're going to do it by taking control of next Thursday. They're going to ensure that they have everything that they need in place so that they don't feel vulnerable. That's the way that control, that's the way that agency is established. It's I'm going to take agency for myself. Don't come into these spaces. They are the spaces that I care about. So often for 8s, we haven't mentioned this, 8s commonly will only have a few close friends. A lot of that ends up being partially like they want to have an intimate circle of trust. These are the sorts of people that don't make me feel vulnerable. It's also the case that you'll find that 8s commonly will work in jobs where they are serving those who may be either weak or sick. Real common for 8s to be attracted to those atmospheres because those folks will not make the 8 feel vulnerable. The 8 who is the nurse helping someone who's infirmed, that person's not a threat, and they can give forth their power, their strength on behalf of others. I know a lot of 8s who are actually like elementary school teachers. Little ones, not necessarily a threat, right? They can be themselves in those sorts of environments. 9s also want control. 9s also want autonomy. As was said, you're going to take a big step back to gain that control. And so for the 9, taking control means establishing these spaces where things are peaceful, where they're calm. Like here's my man cave, and I have demarcated it as my space. And it may be quite messy, but it's probably very, very comfortable for the 9. Taking the step back into those spaces is the way that control is established. How do I, retreat in order to ensure that I have, the spaces where I can feel at calm, at peace, where there are no demands on me. Lastly, are 1s. 1s are going to earn control. If I'm just good enough, I'll be able to control myself, and my integrity, my character will overflow into the world around me and will shape it. This is an underlying belief for 1s, that they can earn control in this sense by being good enough. If I'm good enough, then I will be able to have personal oversight, I will feel good in the world, and everything else will follow. So oftentimes there are many 1s who struggle with their weight, with thinking about their body, and they will be very aggressive in shaping their body. If I can just get control of my appetites, then I'll feel good in the world. Again, as a body type, 1s just want to feel good in the world, and they think they can do it by having certain, athletic regimens or certain diets, and that is where the control lies. And so lies also the anger. Ones can be incredibly angry at themselves. The way 8s are angry at the world, 1s angry at themselves because they're not able to control themselves in the way that they desire most. But that's where they live, and that's how they get the agency, oversight, feeling good in the world that is most desirable. And that's why we went around the circle. We went around the circle 3 times, did that pretty quick. That wasn't very quick, actually. It's probably 50 minutes. What we're going to do, this is the first of our sets of pairing the triads. These are the 2 most basic sets, as it were. It's where a lot of people do a lot of work on the Intelligence Center and on Stance. Seeing that overlap, incredibly valuable. As we move forward, we're going to continue to look at different triads, slam them together, see what comes out. I consistently love some of the insights that are here. And so this is episode 1. Moving on to the future. May all good things be yours.